All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, we're going to go through Bitcoin and the Bitcoin Miners Weekend Edition and Special Edition. We're going to talk about what's going on today as well. So I'm going to go through all of last week's charts, also year-to-date charts. We're going to take a look at some other charts as well, but something is happening. I'm making this video on Monday morning. Bitcoin is making a move. It looks like a breakout, so I'm going to talk about today as well because I think it's important. So stay tuned for that later in the video. You can check the chapters below. If you're new to the channel, we talk about Bitcoin miners all the time, so consider subscribing. Also, if everybody could do us a giant favor and smash the like button, we're going for 800 likes. I want to thank everybody for all the likes we've been getting over the last few months. Also, we did recently reach 20,000 subscribers, so I want to thank all the subscribers for joining us along this journey along the way here. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Okay, first I want to take a look at what happened last week, week over week. So last week was a little bit of a rough week for Bitcoin. It was a much worse week for the Bitcoin miners. For the most part, there were a few outliers. But you're going to see, once again, the Bitcoin miners continue to lag behind Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was down 3% last week. There are some other reasons for this. The stock market had a pretty rough week overall last week, so Bitcoin was down. And when Bitcoin goes down, that tends to drag the Bitcoin miners. And when the stock market goes down, particularly the Russell 2000, that tends to be a drag on the Bitcoin miners. So it was kind of a double whammy last week, and you can see that in the results. There was really only one Bitcoin miner that was up on the week, and that was Iris Energy. They were up 4%. You'll see Bitcoin here down 3%, and it was more like 3.5% on the week last week. Just quickly, I do want to go through Iris Energy. There's a reason they were the outlier and they were green last week. They put this announcement out last Monday and they had a giant green day on Monday. 20 exahash expansion fully funded. So they go through, this is a pretty comprehensive report. They talk about how they have funded their 20 exahash plans, which they've been talking about for some time. They have purchase ordered all the machines. They've now fully funded this. They're not done with their at-the-market offering, so there is more stock dilution to come, but they have reached another major milestone, and this stock tends to take off when they make these announcements. In addition to that, they've announced that they're going to be doing quarterly reporting, so that is an improvement from what they've been doing in the past, so the market reacted very positively to this. As a result, this is our only green miner in the week last week. Okay, from there, you'll see BitDeer was at 0%, DigiHost was at -1, Core Scientific at -3. Those are the only Bitcoin miners that performed better than Bitcoin. But if we go to the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to see there was some Bitcoin miners that performed very poorly last week. Argo Blockchain down 27%. That's a microcap stock at this point. But if you look, you're going to see CleanSpark down 26% last week. Most of that had to do with Monday of last week's activity. CleanSpark announced an $800 million at-the-market shelf offering the previous Thursday. So the market did not trade on Friday. So Monday was the first day that the market could, quote, punish CleanSpark for that. So you can see that's what happened last week. On a week that Bitcoin was down 3%, for CleanSpark to be down 27%. But really, most of these were down. You're going to see a big grouping between 14 and 21%. So most of the Bitcoin miners really did have a very difficult week, including all of the large Bitcoin miners. You're going to see Marathon, the largest Bitcoin miner by market cap, was down 18%. Riot, the third largest, was down 17%. And we talked about CleanSpark, the second largest, down 26%. So you can take a minute and find your Bitcoin miner on here, but by and large, for the most part, it probably did not have a good week last week. This is part of a greater trend that we're about 14 or 15 weeks into. It looked like maybe we were turning the corner, but last week did not go well. So we're going to have to see what this week brings. And again, later in this video, we will get to the fact that as I'm making this on Monday morning, there seems to be a big potential breakout for Bitcoin. Okay, so quickly, if you go year to date, so we are now a little over 3 months into the year, so we're more than a quarter of a way through the year. And you're going to see there's only one Bitcoin miner in the green on the year to date this year. That is CleanSpark. CleanSpark's up 41% year to date, and that even after the disastrous week they had last week, down 26%. But they have slipped behind. At one point, they were ahead of Bitcoin, but with last week's activity, Bitcoin is now leading all the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin is up 60% year to date, and that's before today's move. This is as of last Friday, and over the weekend and Monday morning here, Bitcoin has made a big move to the upside. It remains to be seen whether or not that holds or not. So I don't know what Bitcoin will be at as you guys are watching this video. So if we look year to date, there are two others that are very close to break even. Cypher is just down 2% on the year, and TeraWolf's down 2% on the year. And then it drops to down 11% and then down 22%. But you'll see the big grouping, there's a bunch down in the 30s, some near 40, and then some over 50%. So it's this group at the bottom that we've been talking about. I do think the market is pricing in the fact that there will be winners and losers. We've been saying that on this channel for almost 17 months now. This cycle, I believe, will be different than the previous cycles. I don't think all the Bitcoin miners are just going to go straight to the moon right along with Bitcoin. I think there will be some winners and some losers. So each individual Bitcoin miner's plan and their ability to execute that plan, I think, is going to make all the difference in the world this time around. I still do believe there will be winners. Again, none of this is financial advice. We will have to wait and see how things go. So far, over the last 14 or 15 weeks, the Bitcoin miners have performed very poorly, which I want to go to one more chart real quick that just goes back a few days earlier than this. A lot of the Bitcoin miners peaked on December 27th, which was just a few trading days left in the year last year, but you're going to see it makes a big difference. In that period of time, Bitcoin's up 55%. CleanSpark's up only 16%, but more importantly, you're going to see most of the Bitcoin miners are down between 40 and 70% from their highs on December 27th, 2023. So again, that's just 2 trading days before the end of the year last year. That was the peak for 12 out of the 19 Bitcoin miners on this chart, and you can see things have gone very poorly. We're now 14 and a half weeks into this run. In 2023, we had a 14-week run where the Bitcoin miners underperformed Bitcoin in a pretty dramatic fashion similar to this. However, we're now a little bit past that. This is now 14 and a half weeks, and I'm not sure when this is going to end, so we're going to have to see. I think this week is going to be a really important week for the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin's making a big move to the upside, and if the Bitcoin miners lag behind that, then I think that may be a clue that we could be in for some more pain ahead with these Bitcoin miners. It may take longer than expected for these to turn around, and some of these, again, may never turn around. So for me personally, again, this is not financial advice. I do think there's a lot of these Bitcoin miners that will turn into the green on this chart right here. So I think they will make up for lost time at some point in the year 2024. However, with the having just less than 2 weeks away, I'm not sure what effect that's going to have on the Bitcoin miners. The reality is, in the short term, as always, we really don't know, and anybody that tells you that they do know is just guessing. Now, you can make educated guesses. We're going to look at some charts later and some technicals, but, you know, the technicals don't always play out exactly as planned. That's why we look at so many different charts and data points to try to just get as many clues as we possibly can to make an informed decision and do our own due diligence. So with that said, let's go to the next chart. Okay, again, this is as of Friday, April 5th. So Bitcoin peaked in November of 2021 and hit 69,000. So as of last Friday, you're going to see Bitcoin in gold here down 2%. So it was a little bit below that. We've been bouncing above and below that for several weeks now. This morning here, Monday morning, as I'm making this video, we've had a breakout to the upside, and we're now a few $1,000s above our previous all-time high. But at this point, we were down 2%. At the same time, CleanSpark, even on this level, so far, pretty much on almost every chart, CleanSpark has been the best performer. CleanSpark's down 34% in this period of time, so still lagging way behind Bitcoin. And then you go to Cypher, down 59%. Then you've got DMG, which is really a microcap stock. That is down 70%. Some of the big names, Marathon, which is the largest by market cap, is down 78% since its high in November of 2021. Riot is also down 78% since its high in November of 2021. So this is the largest and third largest Bitcoin miner by market cap. CleanSpark is the second largest. So you can see a big grouping between, 78 and 83%. Anything after this, there's another grouping between 89% and 99% down off of their highs from the peak of the previous Bitcoin cycle. So this is not even necessarily their all-time high, but it's their high from November of 2021 when Bitcoin hit its high in the previous Bitcoin cycle. For these stocks that are down between 89 and certainly the ones that are down here 98 and 99%, I'm skeptical that some of these will ever get back to their previous all-time highs. And this is where we get into the fact that we've been saying, I think there will be winners and losers. And losers does not necessarily mean that these companies are going out of business. It just means I don't think they're getting back to their previous all-time highs. And for me, they're not companies that I have a high level of conviction in, and I am worried about their ability to thrive as an investment after the halving. On the flip side, I do think some of these companies on the other end of this chart, even some of these that are down between 78 and 83%, I think that they have a good chance of getting back to their previous all-time high or taking out their previous all-time high sometime really over the next couple of years, because remember, from where we are right now, we're still a few weeks prior to the halving. So traditionally, it's about a year and a half before we hit our new all-time high at the peak of this bull market. So we'll have to see. Only time will tell if this bull market mirrors the previous Bitcoin 4-year cycles. But if it does, we could be anywhere from 12 to 18 months away from our new all-time highs. I continue to believe there's a lot of additional catalysts that are on the way or have already arrived. Obviously, the biggest of which are the Bitcoin spot ETFs. So again, this is not financial advice, but I do think there's going to be some of these Bitcoin miners that do get in the green, even from this perspective, even the ones that are down between 78 and 83%. So not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence. You can see this chart shows very well just how unbelievably volatile these Bitcoin mining stocks are. You've got several of these down 98 or 99% in really a 2.5-year period. So those are staggering moves to the downside. So we've experienced a lot of the volatility in one direction. Are we going to get that volatility in the other direction? Time will tell. With that said, I want to take a quick look at what's going on with the Bitcoin chart today. This is Monday morning, just before the U.S. equity markets open. So I just want to go through this chart on the 15-minute time frame. You're going to see a gold line down here at around $67,368. This is where Bitcoin was when the U.S. equity markets closed on Friday. So if we measure from there to where we are right now as I'm making this video, again, just before the U.S. equity markets open on Monday morning, Bitcoin's up over 7% in that period of time. So this was a gigantic move to the upside, a lot of which happened overnight last night, but we were trending upward all weekend long. So we're going to have to see what happens. This is a big move to try to hold on to. So the other thing that we're going to have to see is how do the Bitcoin miners react to this? I will tell you, in pre-market, a lot of these are about 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. So to me, that would still be underperformance. With a giant move to the upside like this would be a chance for the Bitcoin miners to start to make up for lost ground. So we're going to see if the Bitcoin miners continue to lag. Are they going to stay on par with what Bitcoin does in this big move to the upside? And will this move hold? Because a lot of times these quick moves to the upside are followed by moves right back down to the downside. Some of this has to do with the fact that there's liquidity lines, and oftentimes on lower volume, Bitcoin can run to a certain line and liquidate a lot of either the long positions or the short positions. So I suspect some of that is what's happening here. But if the spot ETFs come in with some heavy buying this week, we may be able to hold this move to the upside and potentially continue a breakout. This does represent a breakout on one level. There's another level I'm going to talk about as well. But first, let me show you the breakout that I'm talking about. Okay, if we look at Bitcoin, this is on the 1-day time frame. And really, this is a 4-hour pattern. So this looks a little more precise at the 4-hour time frame, but it works just the same on the 1-day time frame. So this is Bitcoin on the 1-day time frame. You can see we've had an ascending line of support and a descending line of resistance for this wedge here. And you can see we've bumped into this a couple of times in each direction. Well, in today's daily candle so far, we have a pretty clear breakout. So if this sustains, this could be a good thing for Bitcoin. This wedge ends somewhere around the halving, maybe a day or two after the halving. So it did look like we were going to break in one direction or the other prior to the halving, or roughly around the halving. So potentially we may have broken out of this today. So what I will look to see is on the 1-day time frame, if we can close a daily candle above this descending line of resistance and then maybe confirm another one tomorrow, that would be a really good sign that we're about to have a breakout to the upside. There is one more line worth looking at. If we go to the 1-day chart looking at it this way, you'll see a yellow line here at $69,000. That is the previous all-time high from November of 2021. So you can see we've been bouncing above and below that all the way really since March 5th. So that's a little bit over 1 month ago. But you'll see a purple line here up at around $73,835. That is our new all-time high. And we set that on March 14th. So that was coming up on 3 weeks ago. So that would be my next short-term price target. If we can hold this breakout to the upside, we could very well go test that all-time high again. And then obviously if we can break out past that line, then there's really no other lines of resistance. So we could expect potentially a nice move to the upside. However, we do have to do two big things between now and then. We need to hold the gains today and finish you're somewhere above the breakout on this wedge, which looks like somewhere above $70,300. So the further above this, the better. Then I would look for a second daily candle that confirms the breakout above this. And then, of course, the third thing that we would look for is to retest our previous all-time high at around $73,800. So if we could get to $74,000, if we can do those three things, then we could potentially be looking at a breakout, maybe in my opinion, up somewhere around $80,000. And I think we could possibly hit that by the halving, maybe sooner. The closer we get to that, the more precise we'll be able to know the answer to that. But somewhere next week, we will have the next Bitcoin halving. So we're going to have to see how that affects the price action as well. So you can see there's a lot going on with Bitcoin. Last week was a tough week, and that continues a long trend. However, over the weekend and certainly here Monday morning, it looks like for Bitcoin anyway, we are having a nice move to the upside. We will see if the Bitcoin miners can contribute in that move. And obviously, we'll follow this along as the week goes on. So that's what's going on. Drop in the comments below. Where do you think Bitcoin's going this week? Can we hold on to these gains? Can we have this breakout? If you made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. Please remember to smash the like button. And of course, if you enjoy this content, if you are interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, please consider subscribing to the channel. Lastly, as always, this is not financial advice, and just a reminder, these are extremely volatile assets, so please do your own due diligence and trade very carefully. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.